I'm sure someone will see me and come up to me, and saw you on film, okay.
You working for the city of Portsmouth? What are you doing at the round table?
Well, I actually do work for the city of Portsmouth, but in a very minor capacity.
So, hello, thank you for joining us for the Sagamore Ave Sewer Extension Project kickoff, south of the creek. Thank you for viewers we have online. Are we able to put that presentation up as well? So this is the public kickoff meeting for construction south of Sagamore Creek. I'm Zach Cronin, the Assistant City Engineer for Portsmouth. I'm here with Eric Fiedler, the City Engineer, Kevin Garvey of Wright Pierce, Mark Rainey of Severino, and Roger Rivet, Severino, plus Stephanie Secord, our Public Information Officer. You can go to the slide. So general presentation overview, I'll give general information on the project, follow up with the information for pre-construction, what to expect out there during construction. Frequently asked questions we've received for pre-construction. Then we'll move on to the private property work. As you are aware, there is a private property section of this project. Then frequently asked questions from that, and then general questions at the end. We're going to hold that until the end of the presentation. So general information, the project team for this is myself, Eric Fiedler, that's the city's team. We have Wright Pierce, Mike Terrio, who's unable to attend today. He's the senior project manager. We have Kevin Garvey, the direct project manager of the project. And Roy Babylon, unfortunately, was unable to attend. He's the resident project representative. He's the boots on the ground for the city, directly hired by the city to oversee construction and help interface with the public. He's kind of our direct eyes and ears on site. He will be on site starting April 15th. He had some winter construction that is wrapping up. He will be available after that time. And then Severino, Mark Rainey, the project manager for Severino, and Roger Rivet, who is the superintendent, boots on the ground. I'm sure you've seen him already, but that is Severino's team. So total project overview, there's Sagamore Ave running down the middle there. North of the creek has been substantially completed, but that is Sagamore Ave, Cliff Road, Shaw Road, Walker Bungalow. That was about 6,000 feet of sewer, a little bit of water service switching over. And then what we're here to speak about tonight is south of the creek. So Sagamore Ave from the bridge to roughly where the Moose Lodge got redeveloped. Wentworth House Road all the way to the Rise Town line, so in front of BG's, and then Sagamore Grove. That's about 2,500 feet of sewer main, and then water main installation on Sagamore Grove as well. So the bid award and pricing, bids were received December 21st of 21. The base bid was awarded at that time. It was substantially completed last year in December of 2022. Due to our funding structure, we held awarding the ad alternates, so the south side of the creek and the private side work, until after the next fiscal year began, so July of 2021, which is why that work was offset. We have phase one of private side connections on the north side of the creek that have been underway. So we have a number of properties that are actually connected to the functional sewer on the north side of the creek already. And then phase one of the private side connections from the south side of the creek were awarded, and partially the number of properties out there, properties that wish to connect. And that is under contract. That will have to wait until after the sewer main is completed, because we cannot connect houses to sewers that don't exist yet, but we are under contract to have that work done. That moves us to phasing. Computer is not enjoying. All right. Generally, what I've already stated, the green was substantially completed for the sewer main in the street, and the private side connections have been ongoing. They're at Severino's ability to do so with manpower and time. Then the south side of the creek, we have the sewer main that needs to be installed and the water main. That is the red box is really this phase of construction right now. I will be passing this off to Kevin at this point.
Thanks, I appreciate it. So just do a quick overview of the construction schedule for what we expect going on over the next 6 to 9 months. At the end of March, Severino Trucking begins their probes to confirm some of the ledge depths in between some of the larger gaps. Dig saves already occurred. They're not expecting to do any pre-blast surveys, but that would be happening in the near future if needed.
To clarify that, they're not expecting to blast, thus we wouldn't need the pre-blast surveys to be done. If blasting does happen, we would still need to do that.
Correct. Traffic control has been set up for the construction that's ongoing. They recently started work in the DOT right away. DOT was willing to start about 2 weeks earlier than we expected, which is great. Hopefully that allowed them to get out of the road before some of the summer traffic comes through. Rock excavation's already begun and will continue throughout the summer. South Sagamore Creek, we're expecting this work to be done by December of 2023. And we expect the final paving the DOT roads to be done this fall and then Sagamore Road next spring. Private side work will kind of overlap construction depending on how much rock they're running into and crew availability and MOUs being signed by the residents. So we handed out a similar list today at the meeting, but these are the key contacts of the project. So Roy Babylon, again, as Zach mentioned, he's city's kind of operative on site just to make sure if there's any issues, there's a contact for the residents to talk to. Roger Rivet is the same similar contact for Severino Trucking, and then Zach's the key contact at the city who's been really great with this project. And just kind of giving people a general idea of what's going to go on out there, some of the typical construction issues you run into. So the work hours of the project are allowed to be 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. contractually. Progression of work, so we expect excavation to be going initially. If needed, blasting would occur, but again, at this time, we're not expecting that. After the excavation has been performed, they would install the main. After they install the main, they'd come back and install the sewer services, and also they do site restoration. A similar process then occur for the private property work after the main line work is complete. Traffic control and access. So we expect this to be alternating one-way traffic. We don't expect any true detours in this project. There'll be signage, portable message boards, and flaggers. We don't expect any true road closures. I don't believe, right, Mark? So yeah, all right. And then parking. We think the only place this might be slightly issue be on Sagamore Road, and I think the contractor plans to handle this. Similarly handled it last year on Cliff Drive, which is basically just actively coordinating the residents to make sure we're working together to resolve any issues. So projects construction projects tend to be a bit dusty and loud. We have mitigation factors in this for that. So it includes street sweeping and water trucks to reduce the dust to the maximum extent practical. Other potential impacts, so there'll be some water service interruption. On Sagamore Road, we're replacing the water main. There could be some bus route impact potentially for this project. When the contractor's working in front of your house, you may have some issues getting directly where your trash box, trash bin typically would be for trash pickup. The contractor will work with you guys for that to make sure that's working as needed. And when the contractor's in front of your house, they may be restricted access to your driveway. Again, if that's the issues, coordinate with them, and they can do their best to try and get you onto your property as quick as they can. So the northern part of the project requires some blasting, only on about 700 foot stretch of the project, but it'd be a concerning thing for residents, so we wanted to bring it up at this meeting. At this time, we currently don't anticipate it, but if it were to move forward, it's basically a quicker process to remove bedrock, so it can expedite the contractor's time, so they're not trying to get house long. The exact locations are unknown, but it basically be locations where there's more ledge than we're currently anticipating. Before they can perform blasting, they either need to get a city or potentially a DOT permit to perform that work. The contractor could reach out to perform some building inspections ahead of time. We would recommend signing up for that list It helps you get additional outreach after the fact. And if there's any issues that result from the blasting, we have some clear information we'll discuss with the resident and the contractor. If the contractor isn't moving forward with blasting, there's a call list. You can get on that list, so they can give you a phone call right before they start to blast, so you're not surprised. The day of the blasting, there's a pre-blast notification, and they use some fog horns to kind of let everyone in the area know this is an intentional blast to be expected. So it's 3 horns, 5 minutes before the blast, 2 horns, 2 minutes before the blast, and then 1 horn. 1 horn is either when it's all clear to proceed. Blasting times 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So a little bit tighter window, and they typically try to do 2 per day, usually around 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's something to get for the day. In that same vein, so with blasting, residents become more concerned about property damage. So it is have to be property damage as a result of blasting or otherwise. Roy Babylon, our on-site representative, will have a copy of his complaint forms. Residents should reach out to Roy directly. Roy will stop by and discuss the situation with you, try to understand some more background. I filled this form. Once the form's filled out, then send along the contractor. They send along to their insurance company, or they'll come talk to you directly, depending on the situation. For communication throughout the project, so there's a project website that has a bunch of historical information and it's updated occasionally with additional information if something new were to come up. There's an email sign up, and if you sign up on the check-in list here, that'll give Zach access to your email so he can give you updates. Need further information, you can contact Zach directly at the email shown on the sheet. And again, as I mentioned, please sign an attendance sheet if you haven't already. At that point, I'll pass it back to Zach and the question they've already received in this project.
Yes, so frequently asked questions we've gotten. And this is, in this section of presentation is for the sewer main in the street. We do have the private property questions, but this one is going to pertain to in the right of way. So the sewer system itself, how will residents know if the system is clogged, so the sewer main in the street? There would be, your pump would alert you to that. It would tell you that it's no longer pushing into the sewer system with a very loud alarm. You would hear it inside of your house. And a flashing light that will let you know, let's hold off on using some water right now. And either call the city to see if it is in roadway, or if it is, if you determine that it is your pump, then that would be within the first year. There is a warranty from Severino for the workmanship, and then a 5-year warranty from E1, which is through FR Mahoney, who is the local representative for Environment One Pumps.
You provide that information to the homeowners?
It's on the control panels.
Yes, it's in the control panels. Yep, they have a pretty good website. We did have the E1 rep come out and actually give a presentation as part of the design on this as well. The impacts of private property, the system is clogged, the sewer main. There is a double check valve at the curb stop that prevents any sewage that is in the main from coming onto your property. So that would prevent anything from backing up into the property, as well as a backflow check valve in the pump itself. So that would prevent anything from the system, from sewer mains from coming onto your property. Could the tank back up into the yard? If that alarm is going off and you continue to use water, then it does have the possibility of more overflowing of the tank going to your yard, but it's smart enough to tell you that you should stop using water and take a look at it before you get to that.
Several layers of protection in addition to what you have in the septic system.
Yes, yes. Septic system would not tell you that, and you could keep on flowing water forever. All right, plan for blasting notifications. We have a pretty robust blasting permit system here in Portsmouth that involves inspections or site walks of properties in a 500 foot radius of blasting site. We highly suggest if blasting does occur, which we don't expect, but if it does occur, to work with contractors to get a baseline of everything on your property, and then we can compare it to anything after, should anything happen. And then we did speak about the blasting notifications day of. would blasting be held off until all the pre-blast surveys are completed? There's a procedure in there with multiple notification attempts from the contractor. So they would hold off for as long as feasible, proving that they've reached out multiple times to try to do the pre-blast surveys. But it is ultimately on the resident to allow them in to do the pre-blast surveys. So to the amount feasible, yes, we would hold off on blasting until pre-blast surveys are done. But after the multiple attempts of reaching out, that's when construction does move forward.
Just hop in there one thing to say.
Yeah.
Anything the residents can do to help that process move along too. The contractor wants to get out from in front of your house down the street, keep moving along, so it's less of an impact to everyone in the neighborhood. So the quicker you can respond if those surveys ever do go out, be much appreciated, just to keep things moving along.
So should blasting happen, we have included as a line item, radon testing. That is going into the lowest part of the house where radon would collect. It's a low-lying gas, and installing a meter. It would sit there for a few days. Then the contractor comes back, collects it, and determines the level of radon. If the radon is existing already above acceptable levels, you'd be informed of that. The city has not done anything with that information, so we really just want this to move the project forward. It's not trying to be punitive in any way.
This would be pre and post blasting.
Pre and post, but if your pre is above acceptable levels, then we would not do a post because the homeowner would have to do something about their property on their own.
We recommend.
Would be recommended, wouldn't have to. We'd recommended to do their own mitigation. Then, good results to begin with, then would redo after blasting, and should the level rise to above acceptable levels, we would then work with the homeowners to rectify the situation.
Quick question in terms of blasting, just you don't anticipate it on the mainline stuff, is it? You also don't anticipate it on if any residents wanted to connect to, or is that that's the question, where is it on the residential side or is it on the mainline side?
Both.
Okay, so you still might hit some, you've done some probing though, so you're pretty confident in what's there?
Yes. Yeah, they've done some borings, and then we went down through on our own as well. Kind of did some borings in between what the contract has on their plans, just to kind of verify.
And then if construction damages my property, who do I call? Roy Babylon is, again, our eyes and ears on site. Get him and go over, fill out the form, and at which point an investigation will go forward to look into the situation. If anything has happened, we would then go through Severena's insurance there, or they would reach out to work with you.
Yeah, so once we get the complaint form from Wright Pierce, that comes to us, we hand it over to Main Drilling and Blasting, who would be our subcontractor. And then we would work with their pre-blast survey person and their insurance company and the homeowner's insurance company to rectify it.
And again, the contact information is on slide 10 of this presentation. An example of the forms on slide 13, and then we'll look back to this after.
Oh, and this presentation will be available on the city's website, video as well as a PDF of this presentation to review. So now we'll move to the private property work. So this slide, I'm sure a number of you have seen before. The city is installing the sewer main in the right of way. So that is everything to the right of that dotted line. So that's the sewer main, a sewer lateral, and a curb stop at the edge of the property line. Then if the property owner chooses to connect to the sewer, everything on the left would then, MOU would be signed to allow the contractor to do work. The city would cover the cost of connecting the pump to the house, purchasing the pump, and the stretch that the property owner would be responsible for is that white line, which is the sewer lateral from the ejector port of the pump to the curb stop at the edge of the right of way. That was done to keep these roughly the same cost to the resident as gravity service connections don't require pumps.
What's
Oh.
if The owner's cost, like what's the payment mechanism?
The payment mechanism, we do go over that in a couple slides.
Okay.
It is the 10-year 0% interest loan, should the homeowner elect to do that, or there's the option to pay in full upfront. And on the right, we see the E1 pump, which is the pump selected and designed around for the sewer system. Very robust. We have a number of these already installed in the city and at city-owned locations such as bathrooms on Portrait Island. Very robust and really more of an appliance. And we picked this one because it is very high quality and very durable.
The vast majority of that is very conservative.
Oh,
It's
yes.
just, the top green pieces, all you'll be able to see, the vast majority that's buried under the ground, so.
Yes, and we can see examples of that in the next slide as well. So this is not in the Sagamore area, but this is in Portsmouth, 2 separate houses. That green cap you saw roughly 2.5 feet diameter. And a few inches up, the green does blend in with the lawn. We had to put arrows to show where it is on the left. And then there is the control panel box that has the information, the alarm, the light, and that is on the right. You can see it right with the electrical box of that other property there. So it looks pretty good. So prioritization of the connections. These are as the MOUs come in, but when we get them, it is systems on holding tanks due to the environmental impacts of being a holding tank. Then the documented failed septic systems, again, because of the environmental impacts. Septic systems that predate 1905 due to age, and then at owner's request. We are continuing funding for private site connections through fiscal year 28. Additional outreach for people who have not signed MOUs or have designs completed already. We plan to send out in the spring of this year, so very shortly. You can expect additional information shortly. The potential connection scenarios are that you already scheduled the site visit, you already have a design completed, you have the MOU. So working through those connections now, on the north side at least, and then after the sewer is installed and stuff, we work through those. And then may want to connect at a future date and go over that on a subsequent slide.
Thank you. Just talk a little about what an MOU is.
Oh, yes.
Seen those yet?
Right, the MOUs are the memorandums of understanding. So it has the legal documentation allowing Severino to come onto the property, or the contractor after Severino's gone for subsequent years. Legal documentation allowing the work to be done by the city's contractor under the city's contract. It stipulates the repayment schedule as well, whether that's the 10-year 0% interest loan or payment in full. It also, that document does include a lien document to make sure that the repayment does happen. And stipulates that at the sale of a property, the repayment would happen at that time in order not to saddle the next owner with an unknown cost. That is the general MOU structure. It's written up by the city of Portsmouth for your review. Oh yeah, what is included for the private property work, the cost estimate to all properties. So that's the design sheet that a number of you have already seen, but it is your property with the pump shown on it and where across the property will go, along with 2 cost estimate sheets. One of the cost estimate for the private homeowner, as well as the cost estimate for the city portion of work, showing that the city is connecting onto the property. Like I said before, the 0% interest loan, and that's a 10-year repayment period that would come not on your water and sewer bill, but it would come more or less in the same envelope. And that would begin after final, after all of the work is done on private property. So finishing loaming and seeding would be when billing for that work would get done. The costs shown on those MOUs were based on the bid prices that we received from Severino during the bidding process. They did vary very much site to site in complexity of the work. Some properties were farther back, some are very close, some have a lot of ledge, some have their septic far in the back of the property. So they did vary very much property to property. And the cost included the service lateral length and the anticipated restoration over that. That's to excavate, put in the pipe, and restore the ground over it for the private resident costs.
That probably worth noting there too, that those costs were good to the current approval, so people have already
Yes.
signed MOUs or have received MOUs to be signed.
Yes.
Future phases, we need to get additional pricing due to this escalation of inflation over the last 2 years since these bids came in.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, that's actually the next slide. But
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. The process to connect, if you wish to connect and already have the design done, we will distribute the MOU to you as we already have the design done and it's under the first change order of the contract. So if you've already reached out as interested to connect and wanted the MOU, that is this process is executing or signing the MOU. That does include having it notarized by everybody on the deed of the property. We have a notary here at City Hall and the city clerk's office who would notarize it for you, no charge because it's a city project. And then it goes to the legal department for final review, and then installation happens. Roger would reach out to schedule a time and work with you to make that connection. See, there are unknowns on that cost estimate document. Depth of ledge can be very difficult to estimate. We did try to be conservative with that number. We found that the connections on the north side have mostly come in below, but we cannot guarantee that would happen for you. But we were trying to be fairly conservative on the ledge estimate. But reach out to me for additional information on that, or if you want to ask questions about your current MOU. This is the process for properties that did not have a design done, have not gone through that MOU process. So you need to reach out to me so that we can have Severino, Wright Pierce, or subsequent contractor after Severino has finished their work that they're under contract for. The cost estimates may be different. We cannot guarantee that future cost estimates and unit pricing would remain the same. That is simply because we've got Severino under contract for so long and the number of properties that we've already executed. We did a fair amount of outreach to try and get as much interest as possible. But if you would like to connect, we would need to hear by December of 2026 while we are finalizing funding for fiscal year 28. And that would follow the items from the previous slide would be the process after that. And it is just contact me, get you on the list of people who wish to connect. Frequently asked questions of private property work. Do homeowners need to connect to the sewer? No, we are not forcing anybody to connect to the sewer. As a connection at will. The sewer rates, should you connect in, when would the sewer rates begin? We have been notifying the building department when the pump is operational and discharging into the sewer. That it is based on the water usage of the property. So the water meter reads how much water comes into the property, which is an estimation of how much would then go into the sewer. We've had a couple questions about irrigation systems. That we do have an irrigation system or irrigation meter process. If you would like to have an irrigation meter put into your house, there's a process on the city's website. We are not forcing anybody to connect in or use an irrigation meter, but we do have irrigation meters available. There would be some internal plumbing that the homeowner would need to do in order to connect one of those. But it would then read that water usage separately. You'd be charged for that water, but not for the sewer usage. The owner chooses not to connect now. Will the cost change? This is Yes, yes, it was more than likely the unit prices will change. We only have Severino under contract for so long. So they may not be the contractor that does future connections. And they are within their contractual right to renegotiate unit prices for subsequent change orders. So more than likely, yes, costs would change. And then the cost sharing, the cost sharing that we have made available to residents is going to stay the same until fiscal year 2028, at which point that program will end. And connecting into the sewer would be at the cost of the residents. So the cost sharing structure, which is the 10-year 0% interest loan, city paying for the pump connecting into the house, upgrades to the house if necessary, and then the homeowner paying for the ejector pump, the lateral from the ejector port to the curb stop. That structure will not change until fiscal year 2028, at which point that program will no longer be available. Who is writing the memorandum of understanding, which is the MOU? The city legal department has written that up. We do have a draft example if you would like to see. Reach out to me. I can make that available to you. And then describe the process for those wanting an inspection. That is to contact either myself, Roy, if you see him on site, and Roger. We can take a look at the property to see what it would take to connect you. Wright Pierce would create the design, create an estimate, and then we would give it to you for your review along with the memorandum of understanding. So I know that was a lot all at one time, sorry. So now we can move on to questions. You in person first?
Sure. Can I stay working? My question is that we finished the north part, then I live in the south part,
Yes.
so I can do a memorandum of understanding and an inspection, no? Or is that not ready yet?
But we can do the memorandum, we can do an inspection and design for your property. I believe we have a design for you.
Okay.
I don't know if we included your property in change order 1. I believe your son did reach out, so I don't need to.
He did,
They
but
weren't on
The
the
change order 1?
intent to connect,
Okay.
so whatever this, if that was your change order 1.
No, that was a dedicated list. That was a separate
Okay.
document. So I need to take a look. But I believe Mike did reach out.
yes,
I'll double check.
we've always wanted to connect.
Yeah.
We've heard people saying other things, no, we think, let's do this now.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, I
And
believe
then-
I think during the initial design, I think your father was still on the property and we weren't able to get inside to take a look at may still need to get inside of
Sure.
your property.
I'll make sure that I'll email you to follow up on that.
Okay,
If you wanna call me, I'll swing through Monday, Friday, get Wright Pierce involved, and
Okay,
that way if we, if there's any changes, they can give you a more accurate cost breakdown if we actually get to look at it, see where your septic is and all that, so.
by all
If you
means,
wanna meet up this week, next week, just let us know, and we'll get the ball rolling.
that would be fine.
And I believe you're actually ready to connect, because he's on the previously installed.
yeah. So when the Moose Lodge was redeveloped, they came out across in front of your property.
I even know where it is at. The
Yeah.
engineer at the time, this kid played lacrosse with me, so he marked it, and I know where it's at, so.
All right, so you have a stub and are ready to connect onto, so that you wouldn't even need to wait for the sewer to be installed if you were including the funding of change order 1. So I need to take a look at that.
You've answered my question right there, so.
All right.
And I wanted to say that 10-year 0%, no one's giving that out anywhere. So I have to thank you.
Thank you. We really did want to.
I mean, if people don't understand that, you don't get anything like that.
Thank you.
It's a good benefit. Hopefully people are responsive.
Well, maybe if someone listens to that, then they hear me saying it as the person who owns a house, that I've always had to pay X amount for whatever.
Yeah, that's on top of a free pump and free electrical upgrade. The zero interest is great, but getting the first pump is,
It's not really hard to explain to someone.
yeah.
We want people to connect in, yeah.
It's coming along.
We gotta protect that. Thank you. We can open up some questions to the online, if you'd like. Any, there's the hand raising feature, I believe it's at the bottom of the screen for you guys, if you have any questions. Give that about a minute.
Just make a couple comments.
Yeah.
So as far as the cost, and everyone's nervous about that, what's it gonna be in the future? For the majority of the residents part, other than ledge, you know, material wise, it's a plastic pipe. So you don't get there isn't a lot of cost increase in that, what we've seen. The biggest cost increase has been the pump itself, which is what the city is paying for. So not that I'm saying hold off because prices will go up, but the biggest bulk of that is what the city is paying for. So that's one benefit. And then the other thing is the MOUs. Like the gentleman had just said, he's actually able to hook on now. And if you get those signed right away, if you want to get on, it's a big benefit to get that ahead of time and get it done. Roger will go out, Wright Pierce did their best to try and design your tie-in as best that they could. But sometimes we'll go into the house and say, oh gee, your septic is coming right out of the front. So instead of going around your house or through a driveway, we can zip up the side, you know, a lawn area and tie you in for a much lesser cost. So the sooner we can get those in, or the city can get those in, the sooner we can look at your property. You know, it's a benefit to everybody.
And we've actually worked on that with a couple of properties on the north side, yeah,
Yes.
where we've been able to redesign with the expertise of Severino and homeowners to either shorten up or find a more advantageous alignment. To everyone's benefit. It's been, Severino's been incredible to work with through this process.
Because so right now the design is proposed, it's not, you know, that's what working with the homeowners.
Well, typically it's more to the homeowner's benefit than it is the city's. So if we can rewrote the plumbing, the city's putting a bill for that and.
It's
saving on your.
dropping the total contract
Yeah,
cost.
total
Is an interest that we have,
contract
yes.
cost.
Yes.
What's
Total
the
contract.
city's is footing a larger portion. Quite nice of them.
That's why we're really encouraging people to connect
Yes, yes.
as soon as possible.
Yeah, the environmental benefit as well as having users using a sewer system is better.
Well, the thing is, it helps the system, because like, we need the flows to keep on making sure it flushes, and we have, you know, keeps the maintenance, initial maintenance down.
Yes,
And I believe we already moved about 8 to 10 failed septic systems already in the one project, so it.
Yeah.
There isn't a clear environmental benefit to the study.
Yeah, even currently operating systems, it's, there are environmental benefits.
Anything else, Mark?
No.
Thank you.
barring any online comments, Rocco,
I'm happy.
right?
Good.
Thank you. We will wrap this up.
I would say too, if there's any questions, make sure you let
Yes.
Zach know. If you didn't think of them at the meeting today, then feel free to reach out to them.
Yep.
Want to make sure everyone's like clear of what's going on and that any questions are probably.
All right.
Thank you.
Hope you have a good night.